Well, hot dang, I just saw Top Gun Maverick in the theater, and it was probably the best movie I've seen in the last couple years. Let's talk about Top Gun, everybody.
Oh, he's technically Mexican and 3/4 American, but for 3 generations he's got that nationality. Great-great-grandpa headed south, whose kids had kids then turned around. It's not what the show's about, but it's why he's Mexican technically. He helps that he was raised in New Mexico, lived in Guadalajara for 2 years, speaks fluent Spanish with a bachelor's degree in language, and makes a mean taquito.
So, yeah, Wednesday night I snuck out of the house to catch a 10:30 showing of Top Gun. And by golly, I was super impressed. And I'm not even a Top Gun fanboy, and I had a good old-fashioned time in the theater. Growing up, we didn't have cable television or satellite, so all we had was Hollywood Video and Blockbuster. And we watched movies all the time, so I've seen a lot of the classics, and I've seen a lot of oldies that my parents were into, but I never had the chance to see Top Gun. I remember asking about it, and my dad had seen it and wasn't a big fan, and so it wasn't one that we owned, and we never rented it. So I had zero nostalgia on my side going into this at all. I actually saw the original Top Gun this week on Tuesday online because I figured, hey, I should probably watch this because people are saying that the new one's pretty good. And the original is okay. It is not a bad movie. It is pretty mediocre, and it wasn't really what I was expecting. It's not really an action movie. There's just a couple of scenes with airplanes and one action sequence at the very end. That's pretty good, but if we're being honest, also kind of limited by the technology. What they pulled off with real airplanes was very impressive back then, but seeing it now, it was fine. It was passing, but it didn't knock my socks off, right? What the movie does really well is it's a character piece. The drama is fantastic, and what Top Gun really is just a drama. It's actually a Harry Potter movie. It's about going to school and making friends and competing for the House Cup. Who gets to come in first at the Top Gun, the trophy, the number one, the trophy boy. And it's enjoyable. It's really cheesy. It's got that corny 80s feel, but it's very charming. And the acting is well done. Tom Cruise and Val Kilmer are great in it, and whoever plays Goose is really, really good. The 2 female leads are basically non-existent. Meg Ryan and that other chick are just in the movie, but the story's not about them, so it's okay. I already knew the spoilers that one of the people doesn't make it out, but when it happened, I was still surprised because I didn't think that it was going to happen then, which really caught me off guard, and I really liked. It really humanized the whole experience in a way that I was not expecting. I totally thought that he gets gunned down in a fight scene at the end, which surprised me a lot. If I had to give it a rating, I would say the original Top Gun is like a 7 out of 10. It's fine. Where it really excels is the drama and the characters, and the action was impressive, but is quite dated now. So, the very next day, I go to see Top Gun the Maverickaloo, and wow, this movie blew me away. It was awesome. This movie is the blueprint for how to do resurrection sequels. And by that I mean, a sequel 10 or 20 years after the original film. Because this movie balances so much, and it does it masterfully. It is a perfect homage to the original film without just ripping the movie off. It goes through a lot of the same beats, but it doesn't do them to copy the original. It does it to enhance the original, because you see parallels in the lives of Maverick and Goose's son, Rooster. and the guy that he's competing with. The opening sequence is like a carbon copy of the opening sequence of the first movie, and it's totally fine. You can tell at every step that this movie is honoring the original and not just dragging it up out of its grave for a quick buck. Everything they pull from the original enhances both films, and everything they change makes so much sense and creates, quite frankly, a masterpiece. What is most impressive in this movie is the way they handle its structure, because that is largely where the first movie completely failed. In Top Gun 1, they're going to school the whole time and learning stuff, and then there's an action scene tacked on at the end that really comes out of nowhere and makes no sense and is completely disconnected, except that they get to use the skills that they've been learning in school and showcase what they've learned. Like, the purpose of that action sequence is good, but it's completely disconnected from the rest of the movie. And there's like really no explanation. They graduate and they say, okay, here's some baddies you gotta go shoot down. And it doesn't make sense why they would have known about this encounter beforehand. It's silly. But it would be super disappointing to not have an action sequence in the movie at all. So they come up with some convoluted way to get in this scene. But Top Gun Maverick takes that same structure that failed in the first movie and incorporates the final fight scene into the whole film. They go into the movie knowing that there is an encounter that they will have to do, and the pilots who are the best of the best have to practice and perfect and learn how to pull this off. And that's why they bring in Maverick, who's the seasoned veteran who can teach these already very accomplished pilots how to think outside the box and do this impossible mission. Yeah, it kind of feels like a Mission Impossible movie, and not just because Tom Cruise is in it as the lead, but because it's a heist movie, but with planes. So the majority of the movie is still pilots learning how to fly in pilot Top Gun school, but the whole time they're preparing for the finale and learning how to pull off this heist. So when the end of the movie comes along, you're invested in the fight scene, and it makes sense. Also, the stuff that they do with planes in this movie is freaking cool. The action is incredible, and Tom Cruise is flying real planes. And wow, it's exciting. And the scene at the beginning of the movie, Tom Cruise gets to ride a real fast plane, a Mach 10.3, and I had so much fun in the theater. I was just floored at how good this movie was. It took everything that the first movie did well and amplifies it, and it took every problem the first movie had and fixed it. This movie's a masterpiece, and I'm not even invested in the franchise. But I'm a Top Gun fanboy now. Top of the morning to your guns, baby. Also, Jennifer Connelly is smoking hot, and she's like 50, and she's one of the rare women in Hollywood that didn't turn her face into plastic. So in her advanced age, she still looks like a human being, and she looks friggin' good. If my wife ever dies, man, I still won't have a shot with Jennifer Connelly. But you know. Also, her character is actually interesting, and she's written and performed really well. This is how you do strong female characters without making them insufferable feminists. And Miles Teller was perfectly cast as Goose's son. It looks like the same guy. The highlight, definitely though, of the whole experience was they brought back the Val Kilmer, baby. They brought back Iceman. He has throat cancer, and he's acting still, and it's awesome. And guess what? They just say that his character had throat cancer in the movie, and that's why he can't talk. And I cried several times in this movie, and I wasn't even invested in the original one. I can't stress that enough. But this movie made me cry like a little baby. It was so awesome to see Val Kilmer on screen, and you can definitely tell they did everything they could to work around his current situation. Like for the majority of the film, Tom Cruise just gets a bunch of text messages from Iceman's character, and that's the majority of the interaction, but then you do get a face-to-face near the end, and it was so great seeing him again, because it's so sad what happened to Val Kilmer, one of in my opinion, one of the most underrated actors of all time. So good. I love him in Willow! But Val Kilmer was great, and before the movie even starts, they tack on a little recording of Tom Cruise talking to the audience, saying, "Hey, we made this for you. We didn't just resurrect one of your favorite old franchises and make it into a movie where we can inject our politics and spread some kind of message. No," he says, "Look, we know you liked Top Gun, so we made another Top Gun, and we made it for the fans." And that is so good. That is everything that's wrong with Hollywood right now. Just make good movies and people will watch them. The people will watch the movies. Make it for the people who like movies. Don't make movies for the people who don't like movies. Also, a huge plus is that for the trailers of this movie, they changed the flags on the back of Maverick's jacket. In the original, he had a Japanese and a Taiwan flag, and he has the same jacket in this movie. And for the trailer, they changed them because they wanted to make money in China. But apparently, someone put their foot down, probably Tom Cruise, because he's friggin' cool. And in the movie, he's got the original jacket, so they're not sellouts, baby. John Cena needs to take a little page out of Tom Cruise's book and admit that Taiwan is a country, baby. Anyway, I had an amazing time, and everyone should go see Top Gun Maverick in the theaters and go support an awesome movie, and tell your mothers that you love them. Bye.